Hello everyone, I'm John Raffis from Treyarch, and thank you for tuning into a special studio broadcast. Well, congratulations on Becoming War, surviving Nakatomi Plaza, and the 80s Action Heroes event. Don't get too comfortable though, because this week we're sending you back into the action with the release of Season 4. Players can expect new maps, new modes, new weapons, new operators, and more, as well as new content for Zombies fans throughout the season. Today, we'll kick things off with all things Warzone. And to cover that, we caught up with Treyarch's very own Miles Leslie.
About a week or so ago, Adler was rescued, but the bigger problem that Stitch has got in his master plan is that satellites are interfering with him and his numbers broadcasts in Verdansk. And so Wraith says, hey, you know what? We got to take these satellites down. I know a guy in South Africa that can do it. And he sends Jackal, which is the new Battle Pass operator. Jackal and Stitch do this. These satellites crash across Warzone and Cold War and really change the landscape of Verdansk and on the multiplayer side as well. Meanwhile, Adler was rescued and he is a little unhinged. Something is not right with Adler. That's setting the foundation for some future cool stuff that we can do. On the Warzone side, this massive satellite is crashed in, and really they've become new gameplay spaces for players to explore, get in and get loot, hunt down enemies if they want. It's really offering a new gameplay and visual experience as well. Players are going to go all around Verdansk and they're going to need to secure these sat links. And when they secure them, it's going to triangulate a position on the debris that is falling from these massive crashed satellites. And it becomes a hunt for, do you want to go over to that fallen satellite piece because it's guaranteed loot there? And do you want to wait for someone else to loot it? Do you want to go after these sat links? There's a lot of cool gameplay around this event, and then really awesome rewards as well, where there's, astronaut helmets and personal decoys, advanced UAV, as well as there's gameplay rewards on getting to these satellites as well, on top of the event rewards that you'll get for completing challenges, which is really exciting. As we've been trying to do every season is update the Gulag, and in Season 4, it's now Hijacked. And for players that don't know, Hijacked is a classic Black Ops map. Now, this is a recreating of that with the plywood because it's like a training facility if you think about all the other Gulags that have been released, and just a subset of the boat, really the middle section. And then it also ties to is you might be getting some good experience in the Gulag because on the Cold War side, Hijack, the MP map, is coming out, so you can kind of transfer your skills on both sides, Warzone and Cold War, which we think is really, really cool. These red doors are manifestations, basically, of Stitch and the numbers and what he's doing in Verdansk. And these doors will randomly appear in locations. There might be some crates in there. And it's really cool because your whole squad can run through. There's a set time to get through, and it's random every time you go through as well. So we think this adds a very, very cool gameplay loop to Warzone. The dirt bike is a brand new way to get around, and this sucker is versatile. You can go anywhere, so you're going to be able to weave in between, the trees, different obstacles. This sucker is really great for getting in and getting out super quick. Now, the counter is that if someone hits you, it's going to go down, right? So there's that risk versus reward on getting in fast and being agile, but it really changes the landscape of Verdansk in some really cool ways and adds an extra layer of thinking on what vehicle do I want to take. Really excited to see how players use that and get some sweet jumps. So we've got two modes coming. One is an update to a favorite, which is Resurgence. Resurgence is a great mode that's across Verdansk and Rebirth, and now it's Resurgence Mini. So this is going to smash players together in some really fun ways. And then on top of that, in season, we've got Payload. Now, Payload is an objective-based escort game mode. Two teams, it's 36 v 36, and there's 9 squads of players. And the key here is attackers, they got to escort 3 vehicles through a series of checkpoints within a certain time limit. And well, defenders, it's pretty simple. Stop the vehicles, kill all the attackers, and you win. There is a lot coming in Season 4 for Warzone. We are super excited. There's going to be a lot of ways for you to win and get around Verdansk in some really cool ways. So brace for impact.
And now, it's time to talk multiplayer. Here to talk more about operators, weapons, maps, and modes, we've got Miles Leslie back with us from Warzone, and we're joined by no stranger to the broadcast, lead game designer, Mr. Matt Schranz. Gentlemen, thank you for making the time today.
You can't get rid of me, John.
We can try.
Now, Miles, from what I understand, there is a brand new operator coming at launch. Who is this mysterious operator?
That's right. Now, Jackal comes on the scene. Brand new operator. Now, really, the story on this guy is he's kind of insane. He is a mercenary, hired gun, really loves the job that he's doing, which currently is for Stitch to handle taking down these satellites from space and crashing them across Warzone in Cold War. But he is really cool looking, very different from the other operators we've got. He's got a very cool mask on with some different painting on it. And just his style and vibe is bringing a little something new in this season and again to the whole cast of operators that we've got.
Little bit crazy, loves his job. I'd love to be a fly on the wall during that performance review.
That's right.
All right. So in season, it sounds like there are 2 other operators on the way. Tell us about those.
You know, to almost contrast the Jackal and his insanity and sort of thirst for, blood in that sense and killing is Salah, coming in season, brand new operator, and he is on the NATO side, a good guy. He loves doing the right thing and just has a positive attitude. Really think players are going to vibe with that, and again, just getting this sort of variety across the different operators. We've also got Weaver coming onto the scene. Zombies players know Weaver. Old BO1 fans know Weaver as well. And guess what? He's bringing the fight now and going to be playable.
Let's not waste any time. Let's keep it going and talk about weapons. There are a couple new toys on their way in Season 4, one of which is an LMG. I happen to be an LMG fan, so I have a personal stake in learning a little bit more about what's happening there. Tell us what's coming.
Yeah, for sure. On the LMG side, we've got the MG82. Now, this is a high-powered LMG, and you're going to have to control this beast. It's going to put a lot of bullets and power down range, but you're going to have to learn to master it. So there is a learning curve there that we think players are really going to respond well to.
And then there's an AR that will be in the mix as well.
That's right. So the C50A is a brand new AR. It sounds mean, it hits hard, but again, you're going to have to learn the nuances of controlling it, and it really slots in well with the rest of the ARs to provide something new across the season.
Well, it also sounds like the team has done a great deal of work with weapon unlock challenges. Miles, what's happening on those fronts?
Yeah, so for anyone that missed out on Season 3 for the PPSH and the Swiss K31, weapon challenges are going to be here so you can try to get those guns as well, which is really awesome because they're a lot of fun, so go and get them if you missed out. But we also got some new fun surprises as well. We've got the new hand cannon, which is a score streak, going to make it on the scene. Now this thing, if you hit someone with this, they are going to be obliterated into just blood and guts. It's a lot of fun to use, but also very scary to hear it being fired and run away at the same point.
Now, while blood and guts does sound promising, I have to tell you that there's an old favorite of mine that's also coming as well this season. The nail gun.
That's right. So, the fun doesn't stop across, the new AR, the LMG, and the hand cannon that we talked about. We've also got the nail gun, like you're saying. This thing, again, it sounds so cool when you hear it being fired. It's also super fun to use, and there is a skill to using it as well. But we also have a new SMG, OTS-9. This thing is compact, but it packs a punch if you can put it on target, and that's going to be for all those SMG lovers. And, of course, you got a mace. Now, it just makes sense. You take that bad boy and you're going to want to chase and hit someone with it. Again, blood and carnage, the toys for everyone.
Well, it sounds like the team is really bringing it in terms of the toys that you get to play with. Let's shift gears and talk about where you get to play with them. Matt, why don't you take players into the experience of Collateral and Collateral Strike? What's in store?
So Collateral is our first combined arms map that we're releasing post-launch for 12v12 fans out there. It's our largest combined arms map. There's a ton of really just awesome features across the map. Even just recently, I found one of my favorite things to do on Collateral is I'll take a dirt bike or an FAV and I will drive as fast as I can up to the cliffs. If a teammate wants to come along for the ride, by all means. But what I like to do is drive up those cliffs and just gun it right off of the cliff. Midair, I'll bail, pop my parachute, fly down to the dunes, maybe take out a couple snipers, go capture a dom point. There's a lot of room for very cool moments. Additionally, we've also got Behind. If you're not familiar with it, from some of our multi-team game modes, is our heavy attack chopper. It's got room for a pilot and a co-pilot, missiles, machine guns, badass stuff.
Miles, let me just pick things up with you for a moment and talk a little bit about setting, because this is a map located in Algeria. Players got a little bit of a look at this in the gameplay trailer. Tell us a little bit more about the setting and the tone.
Yeah, absolutely. So, on top of all the awesome gameplay and really what the narrative and themes of the season we try to do every time is to have a foundation and jumping off point for these experiences. Collateral takes place with one of these deorbited satellites. Now, the satellites crash down in this abandoned village. Players are going to play around the crash site and this village. And then in the larger map, in the 12v12 experience, it's, connected to this oil drilling site, basically.
Matt, let's jump into a classic. Treyarch's taken us back to Hijacked.
If you're not familiar with it, I kind of feel sorry for you. But good news, you're going to get to experience all the hype that everybody's been talking about over the years. Hijack's back. It's very fast paced. It's kind of got a Nuketown setup to it, with two opposing positions, overwatches over the middle. You can go down ladders into the engine room. That makes for some really interesting flanking opportunities, which I love to do. Even Miles and we're both kind of flankers. So if we're on opposing teams, we just kind of end up flanking repeatedly, like doing the Spider-Man meme in the engine room. So yeah, I'm just super stoked that Hijacked is back, and I can't wait for old fans to play it again and new fans to experience it.
Team is also taking us to what I believe is a 2v2 and 3v3 experience with Amsterdam.
Playing across the rooftops in Amsterdam is just a blast. It's an awesome setting. The level design team, again, knocked it out of the park with this one. As always, there's some really interesting flank routes. You can go through some of the lofts. There's an underpass you can go through. Or for the more daring, you can take to the scaffolding and kind of wrap around the entire map and get a really solid flank. But you do have to be careful because it is scaffolding, and it wouldn't be scaffolding if you couldn't fall off and hurt yourself.
Coming in season is a Black Ops 2 classic. Team's taking us back to Rush.
Again, one very near and dear to my heart. I loved it back then. I still love it. It's another small to medium-sized map. It's going to play, I think, really quickly, which I'm a big fan of. You've got the central area with, it's kind of a junkyard vibe. You can move around these kind of organic cover pieces. And then on one side, you've got the actual paintball arena, which I just absolutely love moving through. And then on the upper side, you've got a kind of an alley upper vantage point that really forces players together. And if you meet an enemy over there, you're going to have a battle. There's not many ways of skirting those engagements. Again, just like Hijacked, I'm super excited for the OG fans, if you will, to get to play on this one again, and a lot of new fans that are going to get to experience it for the first time.
We can't come to the end of things without talking about modes. There are 2 new modes coming at launch, one in season. Matt, what can players expect when Season 4 rolls out?
So, as you know, at Treyarch, we love our party games. And with that said, we've got another new one coming to the lineup, which is One in the Chamber. It is a free-for-all style game mode, similar to Sticks and Stones. 8 players will load out with a pistol, and they will start with 1 bullet and 3 lives. You can fire 1 bullet at a time. If you eliminate an enemy, you will get a bullet back. If you happen to miss your shot, well, you're down a bullet. And if you didn't get one back at any time, well, you have no bullets. So, John, you ask, how do I get a bullet back?
How do I get a bullet back, man?
I'd love to answer that question, John. If you find yourself in the scenario with no bullets, you can eliminate a player with a melee, and that will also return a bullet back. So it's really about making sure your shots are on point. It's all about score when it comes down to it. So you really want to eliminate players, stay alive, and try to get the highest score at the end of the match.
All right, One in the Chamber, but also coming at launch is Multi-Team Sat Link.
That's right. We've got another multi-team game mode to add to the lineup. With multi-team sat link, we're kind of going back to the fast-paced objective-style game mode. You're going to drop in from the infill plane, and it's about capturing those sat links. And when you capture a sat link, you will start earning score for your squad. In addition to that, as with all of our other multi-team game modes, you can go out into the different maps and loot in these containers. So in multi-team sat link, you'll be looting things like armor plates and score streaks. But the new addition for multi-team sat link is that you'll be able to find the signal boosters and batteries. And when you come across those, you can pick those up and then take them to your team's sat link and install those into those sat links. And what those will do, they will give you a boost to your score for a short period of time. So you get in this really interesting gameplay loop of, let's go capture a sat link. Okay, let's go out in the world and try to find some signal boosters and batteries and bring them back to our sat link and install those. And then so we're going to be earning score a little bit faster. And then you have some decisions to make of, okay, do we stay here and defend this one? Do we try to go and take that enemy sat link? Do we break up to defend, to go try to capture other enemy sat links? So it's a very different multi-team experience and one we've been having a blast with.
Last but not least, coming in season, capture the flag.
Back in the day, the old Call of Duties, capture the flag was my go-to game mode. It's all about that teamwork. It's all about decision making. The competitive players love capture the flag. Each team has a flag located on their side of the map, or their base, if you will. And then it's all about going to the enemy's base, grabbing that flag, and bringing it back to your base. For the uninitiated there, in order to capture an enemy flag, your flag does have to be at the base. So it's really about kind of planning out ahead and making sure that you have some defense at your home base to watch your flag, while you have some offense going out and trying to capture that enemy flag. I'm super excited for this one to come out later in the season.
Guys, thank you so much for making the time today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
And now we've arrived at what is always one of my favorite times during a special broadcast. It's time to talk zombies. And today we are joined by lead writer Craig Houston and expert game designer Kevin Drew. Gentlemen, welcome. Craig, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, John. It's always nice to see you and always nice to have these little conversations.
Kevin, thanks for joining us. How you been?
I've been doing real great since the 3.5 main quest, and I'm glad to be here talking about what's next.
Well, let's just jump right into it. And Craig, let's start with you. And let's get into a bit of a recap. Bring us into season 4.
Yeah, we introduced our first main quest in Outbreak back in the back half of season 3. And that certainly began to set the stage for where the story is going right now. Maxis went behind Weaver's back a little bit. Together with Ravenov, led the players on a kind of very fitting for Black Ops, unauthorized operation, where we were kind of behind enemy lines and Outbreak and dealing with the threat of the reality inversion warheads, which they dealt with. I think everyone's seen that they've dealt with that quite well. No spoilers. But now we're very pleased to announce that season 4 is going to kick off with another Outbreak main quest. And this one is probably going to be having even bigger ramifications on the story moving forward, as well as introducing, some fun new gameplay and areas. And I think Kevin's probably better placed to speak to some of that than I am.
I'm excited to announce an exclusive region to Outbreak, which is Zoo. A very iconic, creepy atmosphere. You've got an entire Russian zoo that's been abandoned, and zombies are now all over it. Thankfully, the animals were evacuated or ran off before the outbreak really started to grow there. So all you'll find is some dead fish and our resident plague hounds and hellhounds.
Tell us about some of the new intel items that players will experience.
We're adding new artifacts and intel to both Outbreak and Onslaught, really pushing the story along, tying into our second main quest that will be premiering in Season 4 in Outbreak, and onward into the next map.
When players complete the main quest in Outbreak in Season 4, it's going to be a big game changer, and it's going to kind of change the state of play between Omega and Requiem and everyone who works within those groups, and directly lead us into our next round-based map.
See, this is what I like about the Zombies interviews, is that you've told me so much, yet so little. I appreciate that. I mean, something that only a communications guy can appreciate right there.
Well, I do my best.
Well done. Well done. Let's talk about what you both are most excited for people to experience in season 4.
So what I'm most excited about is the second main quest. It's kind of the culmination of what this new mode Outbreak is and how it plays with our classic round-based. You had Firebase Z kind of queuing up this new mode and a massive sandbox where you can play and explore and be challenged. And then the first main quest, we kind of escalated the Cold War aspect of it. We were started to tell more of that story. But this main quest is all about advancing the character's story and where they're going next. So
I think that's really important, Kevin, because, you know, what's really going to be exciting for people is that the events of season 4's Outbreak main quest are the ones that are going to set up a whole new chapter in the zombie story in our next round-based map, Mauer der Toten. Thematically, it kind of goes to the heart of what the Cold War game across all the different game modes has really been about. This is a struggle not just against zombies, but against East and West. And I think a lot of people have speculated, and a lot of people have, well, if they've listened to the intel, have kind of had their suspicions about where this map was going to take place. And it is going to take place in Berlin. This is the one that's really going to, like I keep saying, change things up in a major, major way, because certain characters' true agendas are going to be revealed, and the forces of good and evil and more evil and other good and other evil are all going to clash, and that's going to kick us off into the final seasons of Black Ops Cold War.
I'm genuinely excited for this main quest out of the gate. Like, we've never released this many quests in a 2-month period. So it's just an exciting time to be a Zombies fan, right? You go right from 3.5 main quest into the season 4 main quest, right into Mauer der Toten.
And it's not something that we can talk about, but I'm telling you, Kevin, and the are going to be two of the most popular things we have ever done, because is fucking hilarious in a very, very dry way. And also the with the voice I really was laughing so much over the last few days recording it.
Got a glow up, just like where it's got when you drink the perk. So
actually, I think that's probably a great place to end it for today. Guys, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Like I said, Zombies crew, never a dull moment. And keeping with that tradition, Craig was able to recently catch up with Julie Nathanson, aka Samantha Maxis. Recently, he had a chance to sit down with her and they had a little conversation, a little bit of a walk down memory lane. Here is what they had to talk about.
So it's my great pleasure to sit here talking to the wonderful Julie Nathanson, who has been Maxis for a very long time. Hi, Julie. How are you today?
Hi, Craig. I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. I said very long time, but I don't mean very long time because it's gone by in an instant.
Well, also time moves differently, you know, in the dark ether. So who knows anyway?
Samantha Maxis in this game is a very different Samantha Maxis to the kind of, I don't want to say demonic child, but you know, she certainly had her issues, shall we say. What was it like for you when you first came in to be adult Samantha?
The first session I had to come in as an adult Samantha Maxis, I did not know I was coming in to play an adult Samantha Maxis. I was sort of wearing my combat boots and like a little, like a girl dress and the things that I would do to sort of feel like my young Samantha. And I walked in and you said, guess what? She's an adult now. And I just about fell over.
I think that's quite an important thing to pick up on, really. That was very appropriate that you were wearing those combat boots, because I think the biggest shift is that Maxis is much more in charge of her own destiny in Cold War. And do you think it's fair to say, I mean, she obviously kicked off the story by sending Weaver the end station videotape, but her independent streak and some of those audio logs explaining some of the things that she's been doing in the field, was that a fun transition?
Yeah, I mean, getting to explore Samantha's independent side, she's been through a lot. And she's had many iterations of how she has had agency in her life or lack thereof. And now as adult Samantha in this new time and space, we get to see her explore what could happen. She had been alone in the dark ether. Some of the audio logs that, players may have found throughout that period of time, she was alone and really processing what the hell might be going on. And coming out to be able to talk to people, I think would have been more of a breath of fresh air, except there appeared to be a lot of suspicion. A lot of questions, some of which she was not able to answer. And interestingly, some of which I wouldn't be able to answer, which is part of our process, Greg.
Well, that's an interesting point, because we've talked about this many times. I don't spoil the story for people unless they really, really need to know where it's going. So there is a kind of logic that if characters are just experiencing things, and particularly after the trauma, there was one big bright spot that really lightened her life lately. Yeah. What was that?
Max has got a dog. I was so excited. She's going through so much, and Weaver comes in and in such a caring way wants to help her feel better. And here comes this giant Rottweiler, which is such a nice touch. And it was also really fun to say the line, not exactly fluffy.
I was wondering about that, because we've not officially named the dog, but last night I was thinking maybe it should just be not so fluffy.
Not so fluffy.
I don't know if we want to commit to that. That's not officially canon yet, and that's just me and Julie talking. But yeah, I think we're getting close to needing to wrap up now. But can you talk a little bit about how excited you are for fans to experience the next round-based zombies map, Mauer der Toten?
I would say I am 25 out of 10 excited for fans to experience Mauer der Toten. There's a lot coming, and I can't wait for the players to experience it. It was pretty cool to experience myself. I'll just say that.
Julie, it's always a pleasure to work with you and to talk to you. I do consider you not only one of my favorite collaborators, but also a very, very good friend. Don't you dare start crying. Thank you so much for everything you've done over the years for this amazing experience.
Thank you. I stopped myself from crying. The feeling is mutual.
When we talk about Season 4, we'd be remiss not to talk about the Battle Pass. As we enter into Season 4, players are offered the opportunity to gift the Battle Pass and store items to their friends. Additionally, expect ultra rarity outfits in the Battle Pass and the store, as well as a new Mastercraft weapon in the Battle Pass tiers. For all of the details about Season 4, as well as a roadmap for all the season's action, head to callofduty.com. With Warzone recently having hit the 100 million mark, it's clear that there are more and more players coming into the Call of Duty universe each day. So let's take a moment to recap where you go for what kind of information. CallOfDuty.com is a great catch-all From getting your hands on a new copy of the game, to a strategy guide, to making your way to player support, it starts there. For patch notes and the latest news about Treyarch games, head to Treyarch.com. For an overview of game updates and what's in the works, feel free to head to our Trello page. Finally, when it comes to questions for our community teams, hit up @Treyarch for all things Black Ops, as well as @Raven Software for questions related to Warzone. To wrap things up, we'd like to offer a big thank you to all of our guests today, and thank you to everyone that made this broadcast possible. Tommy, Ben, Foxy, Alan, appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in. Enjoy everything that Season 4 has to offer, and we'll see you online.